Well, I'll start and then I will pass the mic. So one of the, we all get stuck, right? Don't we all get stuck when we're working either with clients or working on product teams. There sometimes is a juggernaut, and I actually think it's the role of the designer to unblock and facilitate those discussions. One of the things that I like to do before I actually start projects is that exercise. But I call it fears, uncertainties, and doubts. And I ask the team what they're afraid of, what their hopes and dreams are, and before those problems exist. And then we kind of like mitigate some of the problems before they happen. So when we go through a project and we hit a roadblock, we could go, oh, I remember we talked about being afraid of this, and this now happened. Let's go back and revisit how we were going to overcome that. So I feel like the best way to overcome roadblocks is establishing trust with people. How about you?
Thanks. I think that, in my opinion, the ability to overcome roadblocks is also an issue of focus. You know, in some cases, we forget what's our North Star. You know, discussions go and go and go, and we forget what the topic was in the first place. And people are starting to generate ideas and more ideas and more ideas, and it's becoming an irrelevant discussion at a point. And if you don't remember yourself, okay, what was the question for the matter being, or what was the topic we're challenging, and going back to that point, you find yourself with a nice solution, but not a solution that addresses what we wanted in the first place. And most times it's a mediocre solution because it's a combination, like a committee design solution and not a focused solution. What do you think about it? How does it work in the consultation?
Well, I guess it works a bit the same. I mean, a team is just like a small-sized company, isn't it? Yeah. And, well, for me, I mean, what works best for me is trying not to be a leader, actually. I mean, to be part of the team and try to be, inspirational, ask some, the right questions. I mean, I think it was Richard Branson who said, I mean, the 7 most powerful words you can ever ask is, I don't know, what do you think, right? Yes. So hand it back to the team somehow. I mean, what we find very often is that, I'd rather have a team of, say, 9 not super intelligent people as opposed to having one super intelligent specialist, leading the pack, right? Because that doesn't work. I think you were...
Did you just say to hire old dumb people?
Yeah, well, not dumb, but I mean, you got to be a bit naive sometimes,
yes,
right? In order to make any progress. So I think that's the way it works at Design It.
Yeah, I often during my career I've been having ideas that no one understood, and it's like I have a vision, but I can't explain this to anyone. But somehow, often my strategy I found was to plant this little seed outside the organization and make it grow, and then somehow people started talking about it, and then pointing to my managers like, okay, look what Clara is doing here. This is really interesting, and then the interest started to grow and people understood it. And I mean, and that's also, I think, the fantastic thing with design is that you can make the vision visual. I mean, unless if you have another idea of like a social innovation, it's much more hard to explain your idea to people.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay, yeah, so it's the other question was about leaders and how to kind of build leaders inside companies. And it's interesting, I wanted to kind of ask your opinion, but when I was, leading Hot Studio, and even now, there are leaders, they're just upcoming leaders no matter where they are in the org, right? You can kind of tell, like the interns that are going to just take the initiative, or they could be, junior designers or senior designers. It's not so much, it's more of a sort of a mindset than it is about kind of moving up the ladder, checking the boxes. Do you have any advice for people inside organizations who aspire to be great leaders, and the kind of skills that they're going to need, the kind of emotional intelligence they need? It would be great to add to that.
I think one very, very important thing is to find your right boss.
Yeah.
Because you need a boss who has unconditional trust in you. Because as soon as you start thinking, maybe I can't do this, then you won't. So you really, really have to try too hard to find the right manager for you.
So if the manager is not right, you recommend leaving the company and keep exploring, yeah? Okay.
I think a lot of people, in my opinion at least, can fit being leaders. Some have the traits, they're born with them, but some don't get all 360 traits they need to be in order to be a leader, but I think a lot of people are suitable to be. I think that one of the challenges, and I think that one of the obligations of a manager in order to grow leaders, is to give the people the tools, the ability, because a lot of people think that I'll be a good UX, that's enough, that will take me to the right place and I'll be covered. But what they don't understand, that in order to be a leader, in order to be able to fulfill your dreams, to make your dreams come true inside the organization, which has all political constraints, a lot of elements, you need to give the right tools. The tools, in my opinion, are, I think that communication skills and the ability to communicate your ideas is more even important than UX in some cases. The ability to create a good bonding and identify I'd say the minds that you can come across inside the organization, the places that if you don't address them, or the people you don't address, then you won't be able to promote your idea. You gave one tactic, is taking the innovation aside and then bringing it back to the main stage. But in some cases, you want to be in the main stage and you have additional stakeholders. You need, as a leader, to know how to manipulate or how to manage in order to get your idea there, because you don't have the privilege of taking it aside.
It's one strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, it's one strategy. So I think that there are an array of tools, and I think that the obligation of a leader to grow leaders is to give them the different skill sets, that most of them are not UX, UI related.
Yes.
There are more how to fulfill, how to take your amazing ideas, because a lot of people have amazing ideas. They just don't know how to push them up the ladder, how to push them inside the organization. And that's a totally different skill set, I think. Which is, in my opinion, core in any successful leader.
Do you think you can hire a leader? Is it possible to find?
Yeah.
How do you hire a leader?
I think that a leader, and I really connect to what you said about a team, is someone who knows how to drive a team, not essentially a superstar, because it's like a basketball team. When you have only one star, it doesn't scale. A team doesn't play good. When you have a team of people, even if they're not top notch, but they have a good man, a good coach that takes them, they're going to get to the top. So it's not about LeBron James being number one. It's about the team being able to play together. Because any challenge, especially when you go into an organization, it's not a one-man show. You need a lot of manpower and all of people thinking together and driving the show. So I really connect to what you said about Design It and how things work.
Yeah, I think you're making a good point here, and I mean, going back to the Lady Gaga quote, right? Maybe the most important thing a leader can do is finding these stages for people, right? Not focusing too much on, what their specific talents are, but maybe just guide them to the stage, right? And they find out themselves. I mean, I'm from, a super flat country in many respects. I mean, Denmark, part of Scandinavia, right? Where everybody is like equal, super equal, right? So we do believe, I mean, that's the way kind of, we were taught in kindergarten, I mean, that everyone is equal, everything is group work, even at universities and so on. Sometimes it gets a bit too much, but in many respects, I'm learning that this is actually a great way forward. That these superstars can actually smash up a lot of things. I mean, if you don't get it right. So I believe in the power of teams, definitely.
I just wanted to add and emphasize something, that a leader isn't essentially a manager. And there's a mix-up sometimes, because being a leader in any domain, but especially in UX, you can be an individual contributor in the company, but as long as you have the traits and the ability to push your ideas and promote them, you can be a leader. Because leading doesn't mean, especially in UX, it means about driving to the right direction, driving to the right vision, in my opinion at least, is bringing, if we've been consuming life in a certain manner, I don't know, if we look at the iPhone as an example, or the smartphones, been consuming something in a certain manner, and tomorrow someone takes us to a different direction, it can be a person. That's leadership, in my opinion.
Do you have another question, Avi?
But did you want to?
No, go for it. I don't want to ignore you, since you're all the way over there. We're having fun on the couch.
I'm really struggling here. So what does it take to become a leader? Because what's the steps? How do you? Is it you grow in a company? You just wake up one day and you decide that you can do this? What is it? How do you hire one?
Didn't you just listen to my talk?
But still, it requires something. All these things requires, a learning of sorts.
Yeah, I think that there are a bunch of. Actually, it's not learning. I think we're right. There's things that are inside of you, and it's a combination of understanding how do you get people inspired and motivated to do something better than you are capable of doing yourself. And I think that's what I learned very early on for me when I was in my 20s. Well, actually, even before my 20s, when I was a teenager rocking the 80s haircut there, I was always great at organizing parties. For some reason, I was the one of my friends who always threw the best parties. I was great at putting these people together. And then it translated into when I worked in my first job. I was 20 years old and designing guidebooks for Richard Saul Wurman. And I managed, like in a year, to have 25 people report to me to work on this project. And so it's this ability as a leader is to respect the fact that you have a team and your job is not to manage, is to mentor, to figure out ways in which you can inspire them to do their best work.
I should be able to answer this question. I went to a university 3-year program called the Chaos Pilots in Denmark, in Aarhus, in the 90s. But I really think it starts to wanting to be a change maker. You really want to change something. I mean, it could be internally in the company, or you want to change the world. But you have to have that drive somehow, I think. And then you need the right tools to make it. And you need people who trust in you. But I mean, if you don't want to change anything, then, you know. And for me, it was like when I also realized that if I had like 10 people, or like now 70 people around me that can make that change happen, wow, that's amazing. I mean, then we can do so many more things than if I was alone. So that was the thing for me.
I do think an important point, in my opinion, that needs to be taken into consideration is that a leader doesn't need to be someone that has 100 people behind them, or 2 people, or 10 people. It's a mindset, I think. It's a mindset about asking yourself, because we all, there are a lot of people that have the titles of leaders, but they don't lead. They just keep the lights on. They're just making sure that things are keeping the same as they were yesterday and the day before and the day before, not doing anything. They're just getting their paycheck at the end of the year and the bonus at the end of the year. I think that a true leader is someone that stops for a minute, looks at life and asks himself, okay, what can I do different? Or looks aside to different other experts in the industry or other peers and asks himself, okay, I like what you're doing. What's working there? And tackles that and challenges himself to say, okay, how can I be better? What can I bring to my organization? I like Apple. They're doing an amazing job. What's that secret sauce? Someone that tackles himself and challenges himself to find the secret sauce in places that he aspires, he admires, he appreciates, and then goes and does the same in his organization and doesn't say, okay, I don't have the budget, I don't have the head count, I don't have this. I'll find everything. I'll find how to do it. I'll start small scale, and I'll get big scale, but I'll start somewhere, and that's a true leader, I think.
That's very true.
All right, I want to ask you, one of the slides over there you were showing, there was Howard Stern as a DEO.
Yes.
How
I'm a big Howard Stern fan.
How is he a DEO? He's a crazy
Is
disc
he here
jockey.
in Tel Aviv? You guys
No.
listen to him?
No,
No?
does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah, yeah, good.
There he is.
So
No,
he's a radio
He's,
jockey.
he's a crazy, he's known as a shock jock in the States, and I've been growing up in New York, I've been listening to him since I was a teenager, right? And I still listen to him. And I learned so much from him because he is somebody who really just came out and took a huge risk by not following the status quo of what it means to be on the radio. And he is an authentic, natural person who's innately curious about life and people. He could be interviewing hookers, or he could be interviewing President Obama, and he'd be asking the same questions. So I think this whole thing about treating people equally and with respect is something that I've learned just listening to Howard Stern.
That's a leader. That's a quality of a leader.
It is a quality of a leader, yeah.
Okay. So in your book, you speak about the difference between mentors and managers.
Yes,
Can you elaborate why being a mentor is more productive in the long run?
yes. Yeah, and I'd probably like to get your feedback too. I mean, I think that I've talked about this being a mentor versus a manager. A manager could be somebody who is very top down, is much more about accountability it's about shipping products. And a mentor is really about looking at the individual and finding out what do they need in order to be successful. So I think it's a mindset when you're managing people or mentoring people that I think being a leader is about being in service to others. And a manager could, not a good manager, because there are great managers, they can come down hard on people and stress them out to deliver when the opposite needs to be happening, which is find out how you could strengthen their weak spots and celebrate their strong spots. What about you guys? Manager versus mentor.
Well, yeah, I believe it's, the magic is always in the mix, I guess. So you got to be a bit of both. But, well, managing is not one of my favorite words. I prefer lead, actually. And I just came to think of, while growing and building design for the first many years, we didn't have org charts and stuff. And when, the clients came in, who's leading this or who's managing this? Or we are. Who's we? That's us. But we need a single person, right? In order to kind of, goes back to the whole a leader takes responsibility, right? But not only in the legal sense of the word, but the responsibility that comes from your heart, right? That's leadership. So, because you care for things, right? And somehow, in many ways, I think, the mentor qualities is actually, and it takes a lot more courage to let other people lead. Everybody's leading something, right? As opposed to just, grab the steering wheel. I'm driving the car, guys. You're on the back seat. Put the guys in at the front seat, at the steering wheel. And a lot of great stuff will happen.
I totally agree, but I also think that the difference between a manager and a mentor in some cases is a matter of maturity. Because when you get the responsibility of managing a team, so you have 50 people reporting to you, okay, then you're all about getting the business done, you're getting the job done. You're not mature enough yet to understand that you don't need, that's not the only thing you need to do. Because you need to also, I think it's personal satisfaction of any good manager. I can say that on a personal note that I have a big satisfaction when I help people and I see people grow and evolve, and I know that I've left an impact on them. After all, we're in an industry that's very different than the one that existed here 50 years ago. I always have a feeling with this, and I tell my employees, I can't promise you that you'll be working for HP in the next 10 years or the next 15. I'm not sure. I'm going to be here next year. And it's something that I can feel as a manager, as a good manager, I hope to perceive myself, that I've mentored people and given them some tools that when they go to their next journey or their next position, they can take and be better in what they do. And I think that's the core difference.
And I prefer coaching to mentoring, actually, as well, because then it's really like not talking yourself, but asking questions. And you believe that the answer is within that person. And when they find that, they can grow.
Well, my secret tip, that's one of the advantages of being the oldest dude in the company, right, is reverse mentoring. So I have 25 or 50 reverse mentors, right? Young guys that are great at, some of them are in here, at social media, whatever. that's my way of mentorship.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because that talks about the whole key to diversity too, how important it is to have people of varying ages. And, some people have asked me, Maria, you're so old. I'm hot for my age, but I'm old. and what does it feel like to be in a young company? And not only do I enjoy working with people half my age, I also love to teach in college. I learned so much about taking the things that I've learned through just hard knocks and wisdom, and learning so much from people who are born into the internet, have very different ideas, have a different lens on the world. Part of being a leader is sort of cultivating all of these people's life's experiences to making something better than your own view of the world.
Thank you. We're running out of time. That's it. Time is up. So thank you so much, Maria.